And we're back. And today, in today's training, we're going to be talking about something that is critically important and really at the core of what it is that we do as a team. And with LMPAPA scripting, as it's known, actually traditionally it's known as LMPAPA, but we find that by changing the order and changing the context of the script just a little bit, it makes for a smoother and easier flow in the conversations that we're having with our real estate leads. But scripting, conversations, questions, following this general script, which will allow you to build rapport and really dig deep through questioning to determine the lead's true motivation, is really something that is what I consider and what I call our craft as an agent. We've got lots of tools, we've got lots of systems, we've got lots of things to create a world-class experience. As a team, there's a whole lot of value that we bring to both the agents on our team and to all the clients that we serve. But when it comes to your craft, it's knowing how to talk to these leads. It's knowing how to drive the conversation. It's knowing the questions to ask. It's understanding how to build rapport. It's being the absolute highest level that we can be when it comes to the conversations and the scripting. The cool part is that almost every single real estate lead, it doesn't matter where they come from, it's almost the same exact conversation that you have to have with every single type of lead. When it comes to buyer's leads, whether they be pay-per-click leads or Facebook leads or Realtor.com leads or Zillow or yard signs, no matter what type of buyer leads, there's the same type of conversation, the same type of questions, scripting and clarification that we need to determine if this lead is somebody that is worth following up with. In the world of lead generation, in the world of internet leads specifically, which is what we do a lot of, you're going to find that the conversion rates are anywhere between 1 and 4%. I feel like with our team and the systems that we have and the training and the coaching and the teaching and the accountability, at the absolute lowest level, if you are just converting at the lowest level, you're going to be converting at 1%. But for the rock stars, the agents that really understand the scripting, the processes, and that are working the systems at the highest level, 3 and 4% conversion is really the area where you want to strive for, and really the area where you're going to start stacking checks and really making a business out of this. So the craft, the conversation has to be on point. The scripting, the questions, the qualifying, the disqualifying, that's your craft. The better you are at all those things, the better you're going to be at identifying the true opportunities. You know, where I say that we're aiming for 1 to 4% conversion, you have to look at the other side of that coin and think that, 96 to 99% of these leads will never convert. They'll never purchase a home. So that being said, if your scripting isn't on point, if your questioning isn't on point, if your rapport building isn't on point, it's a lot easier to miss opportunities and to not convert on leads than it is to actually convert leads and to identify your true opportunities. So through LMPAPA scripting, through high-level scripting is where high-level lead conversion comes from. So today we're going to be doing a lot of conversations about this. All of our role play, all of our scripting, all of our conversations revolve around this style of scripting. So you're going to hear a lot more about this in both role play and live trainings that we do. But today I want to cover a basic overview of what the LMPAPA is all about and kind of deep dive into the psychology and the questions and the mindset that goes into this type of scripting. So the first thing I want to cover is the breakdown of LMPAPA and what each of the different letters stands for and the significance of those particular areas in our scripting and in our conversations. So first I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of what they all mean, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes and break down each one of these areas individually. But if we go letter by letter, the L is for location. Does the lead already live here, or are they going to be moving into the area? Are they specifically looking in the Orlando area, or are they open to areas outside of Orlando? Why is this location important to them? Is this the only place they want to be? So again, L is for location, and we will dig a lot deeper into that. M, motivation. Hands down, motivation is the most important area in LMPAPA, is the most important area in your conversation and in your scripting. What's their reason for moving? What is their time frame to move? Do they have a home to sell? You will find that if you talk to any lead, any person, family, friend, internet lead, without a true motivation, an individual will never buy or sell a home without a true motivation. So determining this lead's motivation, determining this person's reason for moving, why they want to move, when they want to move, why they have to move in that time frame, if they're renting, if they own, if they're, when their lease is up, can they break their lease? Do they have to sell in order to buy? These are all very, very, very important questions to determine whether or not this lead that you're talking to is actually ever going to transact in the near future to either buy or sell a home. Location and motivation coupled together are the two most important parts of this script. Without determining a clear location and motivation at the beginning, there is no reason to even continue on in the script and find out more about price and ability and previous commitment and appointment, because without a location and a reason and a motivation for moving, then all of those other areas are just a moot point. So you want to spend a majority of your time getting clarity on those first two areas, the L and the M, before you move on to the other areas. P is for price. What is their price range? How did they come up with that price range? Is that their comfort zone? Have they already talked to a lender about that price range? Ability. A is for ability. Do they have the ability and willingness to obtain a mortgage? They may have a location they want to move to. They may be motivated to move there. They may have a price range in mind, but do they have the ability to make a purchase? Can they qualify for a mortgage? Do they have down payment money saved? Have they already talked to a mortgage lender? If they're not planning on getting a mortgage, are they going to be paying cash? Do they have this cash readily available? Okay, so they have to have the ability in order to ultimately transact on purchasing or selling a home. Previous commitment. When we get down to the ability, the A and the P, the previous commitment, the previous commitment means, do they already have an agent? Are they committed to working with an agent? Are they loyal to another agent? Why are they committed to that other agent? When you get to the ability and the previous commitment, this is really kind of the down to business type of questions. These are the personal questions. So you want to make sure that by time you get down to the ability and the previous commitment, that you have really done a great job at establishing rapport. You can establish a lot of rapport in the location and motivation section, which we'll cover here in a moment. But you really have to be on point with your rapport building and the trust that you've built with these leads at this point for them to be honest and truthful and forthcoming when it comes to their ability to obtain a mortgage and the fact of whether or not they're working with another agent. Sometimes they'll tell you they are working with another agent when they're not. Sometimes they'll tell you that they are working with another agent, but you have the ability to maybe swoop in and be the knight in shining armor and save them from an agent that's not doing well for them. But the more rapport that you've built, the more they're going to open up. And last but not least, once you've established the L, the M, the P, the A, and the P, it's time to book for the face-to-face appointment. Once you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's and checked all your boxes, now you can go for that in-person appointment and get them in the office and give them a buyer's consultation and try to get some loyalty out of them. So let's get into this. Let's get into just a few things to note about the LMPAPA before we get into the particulars of the different lines of questioning and how to go about that. So first of all, the LMPAPA is what we call it, but it's traditionally taught the LPMAMA. Again, we find that just putting this slight twist on it, it makes for a more natural flow of the conversation when it comes to real estate. It also, with the L and the P, the location, or the L and the M with the location and the motivation up front. These are the two most important things for us to establish. So it really helps us make a smooth transition into those other areas of questioning and qualifying by setting it up this way. So guys, our Nickley Group buyer lead script follows this same format. Obviously, we've created a a script that all of our team members are following to a T. It's crazy because we've got agents that are going to sell 70, 80 deals a year. We've got brand new agents that just started, a couple months ago, but all of them are using the same exact scripting method, the same exact conversations, and saying the same things. And we spend a lot of time and energy building our buyer lead script to really mirror and mimic the flow of the LMPAPA and how that conversation should look. Again, building rapport and a connection with these leads is imperative to fully qualifying the lead. Remember, we're shooting for 1 to 4% conversion. The only way that we can get to that 3 and 4% conversion is by having really great rapport with these leads, by having a connection, by building a trust. We want to try for the highest level of conversion, and building the rapport and treating these leads like human beings that have wants and desires and needs and goals, and connecting with them on a personal level and letting them know that we have their best interest at mind and we care about them as a person and we care about their goals. It's imperative to being able to fully qualify and identifying your best leads and which have the most likelihood to transact in the future. Asking high-level questions and digging deep with questions will give you the clarity you need to convert leads at the highest level. Realize that the truth is below the surface. Imagine, I know that when I walk into a store, and I'm walking in that store to make a purchase, and I'm walking in there with the intention of buying a suit. I first walk into that store and I have no idea where the suit section is, and as soon as I walk into the door, I'm greeted by somebody at the perfume counter, and they ask me if I need any help or if they can point me in any direction. And my knee-jerk reaction is to say, I'm just looking. Right? I am just looking, but I'm looking for suits. I could very well say, hey, could you please point me to the suit section? But my natural reaction is, I'm just looking. The reason being is typically when we're approached by somebody that we don't know, by somebody that we're not familiar with, by somebody that's a stranger, our natural reaction as human beings is to just deflect, put up the defenses, and just give them an objection so we can keep moving and not have to engage into a conversation with a stranger. So realize that when you first start talking to these leads, a lot of the times you're going to ask that first level question. We call them the hub questions, which we'll get into in a moment. Many times when you ask that hub question, they're going to just deflect, and they're not going to give you the true answer. They're not going to give you the answer that you're necessarily looking for because they're just giving you the knee-jerk reaction. So by asking the high-level questions, by continuing to dig deep with further questions, which we call the spoke questions, when you're digging deep to get more clarity and more details, this is where you're going to really get the clarity. Many times we have to dig 3, 4 questions deep before we actually get to the true answer and the reality and the clarity of this particular lead situation. So get become a rock star and a ninja at asking questions. This is your craft. Get really, really, really good and spend a lot of time in role play with myself, with the other agents on this team, getting the best you possibly can at asking these questions and becoming a ninja. Okay, so hubs and spokes, guys. This is a closer look at digging deep with questions. I want you to think of questions as hubs and spokes, okay? If you think of a hub, these are the core questions. These are the questions that we use to introduce a topic, right? These are kind of the intro questions that we are priming the lead up with. It's kind of our opening question to get them started along this line of conversation. Once we get the answer to that hub question, we're now going to dig deep with further spoke questions, right? Think of a wheel. There's the hub on the outside and all the spokes in the middle. Going on in this training, when we talk about each of the different sections, the L, the M, the PA, we're gonna focus in terms of what are the hub questions, what are the spoke questions, okay? The spokes are the detailed follow-up questions that are gonna help you dig a lot deeper and get to the core of the situations. And as I already mentioned, you're going to have to dig deep. Many times you have to ask 3 or 4 spoke questions, especially when it comes to the location and motivation, since those are the 2 most important areas for you. you're going to have to many times ask 3 or 4 questions before you get to the true answer you're looking for. Be careful to not just look for the answer that you want to hear, and make sure that you're digging deep and find the answers that you need to hear, right? Because many times on the surface, when you ask the hub question, they're going to tell you the answer that you want to hear. But that's not the one that's important. The answers that you need to hear are in those spoke questions. So make sure you dig deep, and the more rapport you build early on, the more trust you create for the tougher questions that you're going to need to ask later on in your script. Okay, so location. We're going to cover L and M at the same time. So this is location and motivation, a closer look. As I already mentioned, guys, location and motivation, these two areas really go hand in hand, and they're hands down the most important to establish the clarity of this particular lead situation and deciding whether you're going to nurture the lead or you're going to cut bait, right? Remember, you're going to have a conversation with a lead, but during that conversation, you're establishing one of two things. Is this lead quality enough that I'm going to keep them in my database or put them in my database because I feel like that there's a good chance that they're going to transact in the future? Or am I going to cut bait and not talk to this lead again and leave them in the pool or stick them in the pool because I don't feel like there's a true motivation that this person has to buy or sell? Remember, without a true motivation, they're never, and I say never, going to buy or sell a home unless they have a true motivation. So establishing the motivation, establishing the location, whether they're going to move here or they already live here locally, why they're going to move, when they're going to move, do they have a home to sell? These are hands down the most important questions and answers that you can get in this whole script. These are also great rapport builders because they actually get people to start talking about themselves. They show that you're actually interested in the person's situation. When you start talking to them about, remember, you're talking to leads about something that they're excited about, right? Most people are excited when they're going to either sell a home or purchase a home, and we want to get them talking about their situation. We want to get them talking about their move, why they want to move, when they want to move, what that situation looks like. We want to get involved with the excitement. And the more rapport you build up front, the more trust you're going to create, and the more likely you're going to get those true answers when you get down to the more serious questions later on in your script, which obviously I already mentioned are the relationship that they have with another agent or their ability and willingness to qualify for a mortgage. Okay, so location and motivation, I would say spend as much time as you need. Many times you need to ask 4, 5, 6 questions when it comes to motivation to determine if it even makes sense to go on to the next step and find out more about the price and so on and so forth. So location. Let's talk about the hub and spoke questions for location. So the hub question, kind of the introductory question. Okay, Mr. Buyer, do you already live in the Orlando area, or are you thinking about making a move to the Orlando area? This is going to open up the conversation. It's going to get them talking. You're going to find out if they live locally or if they are thinking about making a move into the area. Now, once they've established whether they live here or they're going to make a move to the area, now you're going to get into those more detailed spoke questions. Now is where you're going to start really digging down. Okay, Mr. Buyer, so just out of curiosity, what's bringing you to the Orlando area? Are you relocating for a job, or are you thinking about retiring? Are you definitely making a move to the Orlando area, or are you considering other areas? Again, those spoke questions are going to allow you to dig deeper. Are they retiring to Orlando? Are they moving here because of a job? What's the time frame? What brings them here? Is this the only place they're considering moving, or are there 25 other cities that they're thinking about moving to as well? Again, you're going to get more clarity on why this is the location of choice, and if this is definitely the location of choice, or do they already live here? Now, if they already live here, then that's going to allow you to dig even deeper in and ask more questions about their current situation. Okay, so now motivation, hub and spoke questions. This is an important one. And this is a great question, and obviously there's variations of hub questions and spoke questions. We're just using these for the intents and purposes of this training. But this is a great hub question for motivation. Mr. Buyer, if everything works out perfectly, when would you want to be in your new home? Are you looking at super fast, like the next 30 to 60 days, or are you thinking further out? Okay. Again, it's opening them up. It's kind of a safe question. In a perfect world, if everything works out perfectly, hypothetically, when would you like to be in your new home? Okay, so are you talking about super fast, like the next 30 to 60 days, or are you thinking further out? We're giving them safety questions, right? We're not tying them down and trying to truly qualify them, even though we are. In their eyes, we're not. We're just getting them to open up and have a conversation about their situation. Once you get the answer to that hub question, it allows you to dig deeper with the spoke question. What needs to happen in order for you to for you to purchase a home in that time frame? Okay, well, you need to sell a home in order to purchase this next one? Okay, great, Mr. Buyer. So are you guys a year away from doing anything? Just out of curiosity, why is that? Okay, and I kind of messed it up. Okay, guys, so you say that you're a year away from doing anything. Just out of curiosity, why is that? Many times by asking them that, there may not actually be a reason. Maybe they don't think that they qualify for a mortgage now. Maybe they don't think they have enough down payment money right now. Maybe they think that interest rates are higher than they are. But by asking them that question and getting the answer, it's going to allow you to further elaborate and understand where they are. I can't tell you how many times we've talked to somebody, and in the initial conversation, they said they were a year or two away from buying, and 6 months later, we had them closed and in their new home because their reasons for not moving for a year or more were really not all that valid, and we were able to get them in a house sooner or later. Okay. Another one is, if you found a deal sooner rather than later, would you want to jump on it now, or would you want to wait? Okay, again, this allows us to dig deeper into the motivation, establishing that motivation, establishing that why, establishing that time frame, establishing, the reason why they want to move now, or the importance, or do they have a home to sell, or why are they selling this home and purchasing the next home? Are they moving for a new school district? Are they upsizing? Are they downsizing? Are they relocating for a job? All of these are motivation questions, and in their motivation lies the true clarity in whether or not they're going to be making a purchase or selling a home in the near future. Okay? Next, price. Let's take a closer look. First and foremost, only after you get true clarity on location and motivation should you actually move on to figuring out price. Again, guys, without a motivation, without a location, without a time frame, without a desire, without a plan, then the price that they want to spend is really here nor there, right? So we want to make sure that the location and the motivation is where we're spending the time and getting the clarity, and then we're going to move on to the pricing question. And realize, guys, the pricing questions, they could vary. And they vary depending on where this buyer is in the buying process. With internet leads, the typical internet lead is 6 to 24 months away from making a move. Right? So if you're catching somebody way early on in the process and they're 24 months away, they're still really early on. They're in the early stages. They might just have a general idea of the price range, and they may just be basing it on what they're paying for rent. Maybe they're just basing it on what their friends paid for a home. Maybe they're basing their price on, things that they've seen online, and they like the homes that are priced between $250,000 and $300,000. Really early on in the buying process, they may not have absolute clarity, and that's okay, because the further that you move them along in the process, or maybe you talk to somebody for the first time and they're only 3 months out or 6 months out, what you'll typically find is the further that somebody moves along in the buying process, they may have already been pre-qualified or pre-approved for a mortgage, and they might have a much clearer idea of the price range that they want to purchase in, right? Somebody that's only 90 days or 4 months or 2 months away from purchasing, they've probably already talked to a lender. They understand what they can qualify for. They understand what kind of down payment they'd have to come up with. They might know a little bit about the mortgage process and the mortgage programs. Sometimes they might not. And during this is a good transition, as you'll see, to the next section when it comes to their ability to buy, right? Because the further you move them along in the process, the more clarity you're going to want to get on their price range, and the more clarity that you want to get and the further along that they move in the process, then we want to start making the recommendations for them to talk to a lender if they haven't already. And the lender is going to give you ultimate clarity and give them ultimate clarity on the price range that they're looking at. But just make sure that you dig deep with the pricing questions as they move along in the buying process, whereas there may not be a lot of clarity early on. With this lead that's 12 months away, when you're having that conversation with them, when they're now 6 months away, you want to dig deeper on pricing, start talking to them about getting pre-approved and connected with your lender to get that clarity that you need for price. And it's a great segue for connecting them with your lender and to get more clarity on their actual price range. So let's talk about the hub and spoke questions. The hub question, kind of the break the ice question for price is, what price range are you looking to stay within when you purchase your home? Okay, Mr. Buyer, so what price range is it that you're comfortable with or you're looking to stay within when you purchase your home? Okay, they're going to give you that answer, and lots of great spoke questions when it comes to price. Okay, Mr. Buyer, that's great. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that number? Is that a price that you're comfortable with? All right, so again, you're kind of testing out. How did you come up with that number? Where did you get that information from, right? Have you spoken with a lender to get pre-approved and go over all the different mortgage scenarios? Another good spoke question is, are you willing to have a conversation with our preferred lender to see what your situation looks like and to get more clarity? Right? If they're really early on in the process, they're still 18 to 24 months away or maybe even a year away and they haven't talked to a lender yet, a good question if they're not really sure where they want to be price range wise, say, how much are you currently paying for rent, Mr. Buyer? Okay, great. Would you like to keep your mortgage payments around that same price? And then we can teach you how to work the numbers backward and come up with a price range based on what they're paying for rent. Okay, but again, remember those hub and spoke questions. You're going to get more clarity with those spoke questions the closer that you get and the further along that they move in the buying process. Okay, now that's the perfect segue to the next area, and that is the ability. Now, we've worked these leads through the system. We've established location, motivation, and price. Now we've got the perfect segue into finding out of whether or not they've spoken to a lender about getting pre-approved. And if they haven't, this is a perfect time to offer up the connection between your lead, your potential client, and your preferred lender to get more clarity that they need. Please note that it's really important to maintain a rapport and to keep the conversation really light with your tonality. The reason being is when you start talking about mortgages, when you start talking about finances, this is a real personal question. And depending on the lead's personality profile, some people don't really feel comfortable having this type of conversation. Some people will close off. But as long as you maintain that rapport that you built early on with the location and the motivation, as long as you keep the conversation light and you come from a place of value and you keep the mood positive, then the lead's going to feel comfortable and they're going to feel safe. Right? So when you're talking about the ability, this again is a perfect time to talk about the preferred lender. It's a perfect time to offer the connection. Always come from a place of value. Keep it positive. Offer it up as an option. And you don't want the lead to feel pressured. You don't want them to feel that you're pushing them to talk to your lender or that they have to do this. You want to make sure that that they just feel like this is a natural course in the process and that they stay positive and excited about talking to your lender. So let's look at the hub and spoke questions when it comes to ability. The hub questions, your break the ice question is, okay, Mr. Buyer, so you said that your price range was $250,000 to $300,000. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that figure? Have you spoken to a really good mortgage lender, or have you been maybe doing some online mortgage calculators, right? This is a good way to break the ice and find out if they've talked to somebody to get pre-approved, or if they've just kind of been, fiddle-farting around on their own and looking at the online calculators. Again, if they haven't talked to a lender, then this is the great opportunity as you've worked them through the pipeline or established that they're 6 months away or less. This is the perfect the perfect point to segue into having them talk to your lender. And again, those spoke questions are, okay, great, Mr. Buyer. So the next step before going out and looking at homes in person is really just to get you in touch with a good lender. They'll be able to get you fully pre-approved and ready to go shopping for homes. So would you happen to have a few minutes to talk to our preferred lender a little bit later today or maybe tomorrow? Again, give them that option. Leave it up, keep it light, keep it positive. Give them that option to talk to the lender. And more often than not, if you've maintained your rapport and you keep it light and positive, they're going to bite and they're going to want to talk to your preferred lender. Another spoke question is, you know what, Mr. Buyer, there's actually a lot of really awesome loan programs out there for first-time home buyers. There's a lot of great programs for veterans. There's a lot of really interesting loan products that make it really easy to purchase a home. Would you have any interest in speaking with one of our lenders and seeing what you qualify or seeing if you qualify for one of them? Again, if I just offer value and I'm keeping this light and keeping it positive and keep them excited about this process, then it's going to be really, really, really easy for me to tie them down to talking to one of our lenders and taking that next step in the process. All right. So now let's go to prior commitment. Now that we've got all of the okays on the location and the motivation, we've talked about the price, we've talked about the ability. Now we want to dig in with one of our other serious personal questions and find out if they have a prior commitment to another lender. Now, you've gotten all the green lights so far. Now we want to get down to the nitty-gritty. And there's a couple things we want to find out, guys. And here's where I want you to keep your mind completely open. We want to find out if this lead is either working with another agent or, most importantly, are they committed to that other agent? Are they loyal to that other agent? You don't understand how many times we talk to leads and they say that they have another agent, but in reality, there is no true commitment or relationship there whatsoever. You have to realize that one of the quickest brush-offs that a lead can give you, if they aren't in their comfort zone or that trust or that commitment hasn't been built yet or that relationship hasn't been built, one of the easiest brush-offs is to say, I have another agent. Or realize a lot of these leads have registered on other websites, they've talked to other agents, they've requested information through realtor.com, maybe they've even gone out a time or two, or many times with an agent that just really is not doing them service, right? Realize that more often than not, when you ask somebody if they have an agent, even if they say they have an agent, there's still an opportunity to capture that business if we're coming from a place of contribution and we're offering value and we're not putting pressure on them. Okay, so you have to ask as many spoke questions as possible to make sure you're getting the clarity and determine, hey, I'm going to cut bait with this lead because they've got a good relationship. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Or, hey, there's a true opportunity here. I want to offer a lot of value and contribute to this lead because I think that I can ultimately capture this business. Okay, like I said, we close a ton of business from digging deep on these questions. And to be blunt and to be frank, guys, we're in an industry where most agents suck. So most of these people aren't happy, even if they already have an agent. All right. So let's dig deep into the prior commitment hub and spoke questions. So hub question, Mr. Buyer, remind me, have you guys been able to check out any homes in person so far? This is a real safe question, right? Because we're asking them if they've been able to search out any homes in person so far, because 99% of the time, if they've looked at a home in person so far, then that means that they've talked to another agent or working with another agent. If they say no, then that gives us the green light that, hey, I'm just going to assume that they're not working with another agent. And depending on their answer, I'm going to go a couple different directions with my spoke questions. So the hub question is, Mr. Buyer, please remind me, have you guys been able to check out any homes in person so far? Okay, if their answer is no, okay, great. We could certainly fix that, Mr. Buyer. I'm assuming you guys all aren't actively working with any other real estate professionals then, correct? Awesome. So they say, nope, they haven't been out and actively looked at any homes. Okay, great. I can certainly fix that, Mr. Buyer. So I'm assuming that you guys aren't actively working with any other real estate professionals at this time, correct? Awesome. Great. I'd love to be your guy. If their answer is yes, then we have to take it a couple different directions. Okay, great. And how are you seeing, if they say yes, we have been seeing homes so far. Okay, great. And how are you seeing these homes? Maybe have you gone to an open house or are you working with another agent? If they say they're working with another agent, okay, awesome. Just out of curiosity, because I certainly don't want to step on anybody's toes, have you guys committed to working with that agent? Have you signed any loyalty agreements? Awesome. Okay, great. If you don't mind me asking, how did you meet that agent? How long have you been working with them? Okay. Again, we're going to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And guys, when we do our live training and when we do our objections training, we're going to dig a lot deeper. I learned really early on to really enjoy when these leads and really enjoy the challenge when they said they had an agent, because I learned very early on that they really don't have an agent that they're committed to. And this is a great opportunity for me to show my value and really contribute at a high level and earn that business. Okay. So now, last but not least, is the appointment. Okay. Now we've reached the promised land. You've got green lights all the way through. You're ready to rock and roll, and now you're ready to get in front of them for a buyer's consultation. Once you've built that great rapport, and once you've determined that the prospect is ready, they're willing, they're able, they're motivated, they have a location, they have the ability to obtain a mortgage, they're not working with another agent, now it's time to set a buyer's consultation. You know what? Here's the reason why they need a buyer's consultation. First of all, they need to better understand the home buying process. You need to get them here together, the husband and the wife and all the decision makers. You really need to iron out their wants and their needs. You need to try to get their commitment to work with you. You need to set yourself apart as a professional, and our buyer's consultation are going to do all of those things. But realize, in order to get a lead to commit to coming in for a buyer's consultation, you have to create tons of value. You have to get them to understand why it makes sense for them to come in. You have to get them to understand that they do have a reason, that there is value, and they're going to walk away with something that they didn't have prior to coming in and meeting with you. And when you master that art, you can get every single one of these guys to come in for a buyer's appointment. But you will have times that a prospect will just refuse to come into an office for one reason or another. Many times, the savvy buyers, the savvy people that have bought multiple homes and they're familiar with the process, they don't see the necessity to come in. So you're going to get people that refuse to come into the office or anywhere other than the house that they want to see. And at that point, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision for these leads that won't meet you in the office and they won't meet you at a Starbucks. You have to decide, number one, are you comfortable with meeting this person at the house that they want to see? And number two, are you willing to spend time on that prospect, right? Realize that many times these leads that don't want to come into the office and meet one-on-one, they're closable. There's a really great opportunity there. So you don't want to turn your back on them. We kind of have a one-shot rule on our team. You can call it a courtesy showing. We give them one shot. We give them one freebie where we'll go out, we'll open the door, we'll meet them in person to show them the home. But if you're going to do this, it is critical that you set the expectation that after you meet them at the home, after you follow through, after you create value, after you contribute to them at a very high level, you want to set the expectation that you want to earn their loyalty after this showing, right? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'd be happy to come out and show you this home. Realize that I am very busy. My team is going to sell a ton of homes this year. I'm 100% committed to working with my clients. All I ask is for the same thing in return. So I would love to open the door for you, but when we're there, I'd love the opportunity to do what I can to earn your loyalty and be the realtor that you choose to represent you in the purchase of your next home. Is that fair? Okay. So now let's go on to the last slide, and this is the appointments and going for the appointment. And guys, it's pretty simple. Here's the first try for an office appointment. Okay, well then, Mr. Buyer, I feel like I really have a handle on what you're trying to accomplish here, and I know that I'm going to be able to help you and your family achieve your goals. You know what? Together, I'd like to put together a list of properties that we can see right after we go over a few things about the home buying process, how everything works, and kind of come up with a plan of action. So the best thing we can do right now is we can meet at my office and we can go from there. Let's take a look at our calendars. What works better for you? Do the weekdays, evenings, or weekends work best for you? So again, you want to set forth the fact that, hey, listen, I think I got a really good handle on what you guys are trying to accomplish. I know that I can help you and your family achieve your goals. I'd like to put together a list of properties that we can look over together. I'd like to go over a few things first about the home buying process, the market, what to expect. I'd love to come up with a plan of action. The best thing we can do is we can meet at my office. We'll meet for a few minutes there, and then we'll go out and look at properties from there. Let's take a look at our calendars. What works best? Weekdays, evenings, or weekends? Awesome. Now, if you can't get them to come in and meet in the office, you can always try to shoot at a Starbucks near the house. And again, if they're not willing to meet at either the office or a Starbucks, you just have to make that judgment call on whether or not to give them that one shot and to give them that courtesy showing and try to establish the loyalty from there. But again, guys, believe it or not, I know that this video was long. I know I had a lot of content, but this is your craft. This is the number one thing that you can focus on. I have been making phone calls and doing business on the phone for the last 20 years of my life almost. And I cannot tell you the difference that scripting and conversations and questioning has made in my life. I remember my first 30, 60, 90 days on the phone, and it's because I was atrocious. I didn't understand any of these things. I didn't understand how to ask questions. I didn't understand how to qualify leads or establish motivation. Fast forward 20 years later, and I wish I knew then what I know now. But really understanding the power of the LMPAPA scripting, the flow, the digging deep, the hub and spoke questions, this is your craft, and the better you get, the better you're going to convert. Remember, the difference between 1% conversion and 4% conversion is life-changing. The quickest and best way to 4% conversion is unbelievable scripting and conversations and questioning, and B, rock star database management to bring it all together. So that's it. I'm out. I'll see you guys next time.